another thing, watching the Diddy documentary, the whole thing was insane, but the two jury members that they had on the documentary, who picked you? Not in touch with reality. Like, nothing going on upstairs.
Because what the Oh, I mean, I look at him and he look at me, and I can see sometimes we were making the same facial expressions, but he wasn't really like, we can't make eye contact with him and stuff. What the
Investigate the jurors. Investigate them motherfucking jurors. Investigate them. Not just for a little bit. Let's wait 3 years and look into their finances, because something ain't right. After watching that documentary, that man should have been buried under the jail. Something ain't right. Let's go back and let's, a year from now, let's investigate them jurors, because something ain't right.
Pop Pulse family, welcome back. Today we step into one of the wildest courtroom moments in hip-hop history. We've come the entire internet, every platform, every angle, to bring you a powerful mix of voices reacting to how the jurors in Diddy's case failed the victims. Shock, anger, disbelief, all of it in one explosive mashup. Hey y'all Houston my dears, let's roll the clips and hear exactly what the people have to say. Let's begin.
Oh, another thing, if I ever get caught up in a federal case, anything like that, I'm going to trial, I swear to God, I better have a jury like Diddy.
Diddy Juror 160 that we saw in 50 Cent's Netflix documentary actually gave me off vibes from the very start of Diddy's trial.
Because what the fuck? Oh, I mean, I look at him and he look at me, and I can see sometimes we were making the same facial expressions, but he wasn't really like, we can't make eye contact with him and stuff. What the fuck?
Juror, the lady, the black lady in the Diddy documentary, bro. She was a fan, bro. She is a fan.
Because she was clearly a Diddy fan, a Bad Boy fan, or whatever the case may be. She was smiling and laughing like she waited for this moment her whole life.
And one more thing, was this supposed to be some kind of trial or a meet and greet? Because why the jurors was too fanned out, okay? That one lady, they should have checked her bag for about a Johnson baby oil, because she was a little bit too excited to be there.
Like, it was weird. The only thing that she has said that I actually agreed on, and I've been saying since the beginning, is that they didn't charge Diddy with domestic violence. That's where they fucked up at. They ain't charging for domestic violence. That's the only thing I agree with her on. Everything else, she was a fan. The jury needs to be investigated, because it just doesn't make sense to me.
I'm confused on how she made it through. Like, she was just a little bit too smiley for me. I was very confused. I wanted to ask, like, do you want to get orbed up or something? Like, what's so funny? Like, and I'm quite sure during the jury selection, there are certain questions that need to be asked. My first question I would ask was, who in here got a bottle of Johnson in their pocketbook? Listen, they should have checked her at the door. I'm surprised the prosecution did not pick up on that. And then she would talk about how he would nod his head sometimes, and I was like, are y'all speaking in Morse code or something? Is he telepathically relaying messages to you? Like, what is really happening here? Like, I'm sure, like, once that trial was over, those jurors was ready to sell their story. Listen, that lady was waiting to the very last minute. She was down to her last bottle of baby oil, waiting for that phone call.
Oh, what did you think of Diddy? Did you know him? She was excited to talk about him. Bro, she should, when you see it with both your eyes, right? Should she be allowed to even be a juror? She shouldn't have. Like, she was like, was Diddy looking at you guys? No, really, but we were looking at him. I was looking at him all this time. Bro, she was excited. Good for her, but come on, bro. Like, the Indian guy, the Indian dad, bro, you can tell he had no clue who that guy was. He was like, I don't know. But her, she couldn't stop smiling. She was happy, bro.
What the fuck? God, let me have a juror of my peers that are in awe are starstruck or just genuinely like me for whatever fucking reason. I mean, I'm not a fan of him, but I do like the music. I did watch or I listened to Day 26. How many people listen to Day 26? How many people listen to Day 26? No disrespect, but how many people listen to Day 26? And then she's a fucking fan of Day 26 and she's a fucking juror. May I have more than enough money to beat any fucking thing that comes my motherfucking way?
Another thing, watching the Diddy documentary, the whole thing was insane, but the two jury members that they had on the documentary, who picked you? Not in touch with reality. Like, nothing going on upstairs.
Investigate the jurors. Investigate them motherfucking jurors. Investigate them. Not just for a little bit. Let's wait 3 years and look into their finances, because something ain't right. After watching that documentary, that man should have been buried under the jail. Something ain't right. Let's go back and let's, a year from now, let's investigate them jurors, because something ain't right.
I had the same facial expressions that he did at times when it was something that someone said and was like, that didn't make much sense. Like what? I think the biggest one I remember was when Capricorn Clark said something about being kidnapped.
I don't care what nobody said, and if you watch the Diddy documentary, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Them jurors pissed me off. The fact that y'all thought by being part of this documentary, we was about to all side with y'all's opinion and agreement, especially the black girl, the girl who fanned out. And when people find out who you are, your family's gonna cuss you out on Facebook. I already know that nasty slick back home to shortcut. And that Indian man, you just give me like you come from a country where they marry people over 10 years old, so I don't expect you to know. He said it looked like they was in love. Girl, that's probably what you do. That's probably what you and your wife do. But that wasn't Cassie's situation. Honestly, the whole tea, the gag with this documentary was to show you Diddy did not get enough time. He still got off. Whether he looked like he had to get 8 lawyers. That's how scared Diddy was. You know what I'm saying? And the truth is out about you, Diddy. So I know he probably sitting up in jail. And they probably watching you in jail too. No shade.
But juror number 160. Juror number 160 came across as very problematic, if you ask me. There was just something about how she was just eating up their interview. She was just smiling, how she was saying how she was very familiar with, not Diddy per se, but with his artists. She watched Making the Band. She said she watched the making of Danny Kane, and her favorite was the Making the Band with Day 26. So you were very, very familiar with Shawn Diddy Combs as a artist, as a mogul, as a producer. You were very familiar with him. So I question, how did she even make it to be a juror? Because the other juror that was a part of the documentary, the Indian guy, he said he had no idea who Diddy was, and I can believe that. I can believe that he was not familiar with who he was, which makes him a unbiased juror. But for oh girl, I truly question how she made it to be a juror, and I can see why she on this documentary. I can see why she agreed to show her face on this documentary, and I don't think it's gonna end well for her in the sense of public opinion.
But because you're so starstruck.
I am of that generation who basically grew up listening to the music that he was involved.
I understand exactly why 50 Cent put this juror in the docuseries. She's a fan. She was fanned out and she was starstruck. Immediately you could tell she's holding back her smile. In fact, she wasn't even holding it back. She was trying not to, but she couldn't help it.
And he would look towards us and be like, you heard that. It's funny because I remember that nod watching Making of the Band. He would do that often. I think that's just his go-to.
She was like, oh yeah, when Capricorn Clark was on the stand, like, she was just too emotional. I just couldn't believe it. And Diddy was making these faces and I had the exact same faces to make. Like, we were on the same. Ma'am, he's manipulating you. That's what he's good at. She was so starstruck that I started to understand, okay, this is exactly why he was acquitted of kidnapping. This is exactly why the trial went the way it went. I also appreciate that this series didn't focus on like his private business, more so like what he actually did behind the scenes with Tupac, with Biggie, with everything else, the crimes. It just makes so much more sense now. And it's like, okay, Diddy's gonna get out, but I don't think this is the end for him. What's also so irritating about this is that they literally had pictures of what happened at Kid Cudi's house. They had all of that, and the jurors, especially the lady, juror 160, was like, well, it just put a big question mark in everyone's mind. Like, we just didn't. You had a first-hand account. Cassie came on the stand and told you exactly what happened. Capricorn Clark came and told you exactly what happened. You're so starstruck. You couldn't get past Diddy making the faces that he used to make when he was on Making the Band, and I recognized them, trying to hold your smile back. Girl, still chose to go with the narrative he wanted you to go with. You fell for it. The part when she was like, yeah, we finally like reached the verdict and we realized that it was only these two things that we found him guilty of. I was like, oh, S-H-I-T, with a big smile on her face. Ma'am, this was your job for the last 8 weeks. What are you doing? It's like, all right, you basically did what you had to do to get on this jury, and now you're smiling that you're on Netflix and you're excited. Like, she was really, truly excited. It's speechless.
I mean, going in, no, I was not a fan by any stretch of the measure of his music. I used to stay home from school and watch Making the Band. I mean, I'm not saying that we were kind of kindred spirits or anything like that. It was just like we would make eye contact, which the same way you would make eye contact with anyone that you're friends with in a room when someone says something crazy. What was it? Capricorn Clark? Capricorn Clark with no spark? That's what I used to say. I mean, in my head, just because she cried so much. Like, she was just like, ugh. So, I mean, no, I don't think there was any bias at all.
So, from my understanding of how jurors are selected, the lawyers basically pick the best people for their case. So, I guess like a wide number of people are selected, right? They're called upon, and then each lawyer gets to basically ask them a series of questions that can kind of like poke at their unconscious bias. And like if they seem to be biased in certain ways, they are then excused from the case. They don't get to participate as being jurors, right? So for example, if one of Diddy's lawyers was to ask like, how do you feel about Tupac? And then one of the jurors was like, I love Tupac. Like, I thought he was for the people. I really liked what he represented in black community, All of a sudden, this juror is now seen to have bias and could be seen as somebody who could tamper with the case. Do you get what I mean? So that's basically the battle that they have back and forth, back and forth. The prosecutor side would have asked questions like, are you a fan of Bad Boy? Or it could have even been as basic as, do you know Shawn Diddy Combs? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, this is the game that lawyers have to play even before the trial has even started. Do you get it? So by the time that the trial has even started, both sides are already aware of who is for them and who isn't. Do you get what I mean? And they have to tailor their entire argument to kind of like sway those people. So just by watching the documentary and seeing those jurors, it's clear to me that the prosecutors completely lost that jury selection round, like before the trial had even started.
When I tell you this part pissed me off. If you've never dealt with a narcissist, just don't comment anything. Please don't piss me off. But those who have ever dealt with a narcissist, they know how charming narcissists are with people. The jury, these were literally P. Diddy's fans. And it's so unfortunate that he gets to walk. I've been in and out the music industry for like the last 8 years. So I've seen this type of personality. She is literally a fan. She just couldn't wait to tell the world how she was in the same room with Diddy. That's what it was giving. And it was so annoying.
I ain't gonna lie, bro. After watching that Diddy documentary, all I can say is literally, what the fuck? As a child, I grew up always thinking Diddy was a fucking artist. I always thought he was a rapper. I didn't know he owned a label or none of that. You feel me? But watching this shit, I figured that out. But also, I want to get to the main point immediately, bro. Why the fuck was this nigga collecting that nigga semen in a bucket? What the fuck was he doing with that shit? Like, we will never know to this day. That's some freaked out ass shit. Nigga said he was doing that shit for over a year. Like, was he drinking that shit? Like, that's some nut shit. Literally, some nut shit. Literally, I'm not even joking. Like, nut shit.
Juror number 160, yes, she was very problematic for me. She was very problematic. I felt like she was very fanned out, and in the commentary that she did provide, she was asked a direct question: Did you ever make eye contact with him? She said no. They then asked her, did he ever nod at her? And she said no. But then she goes on to say he nodded a lot, and it kind of spoke to I think she justified it by saying it's something that he always does. Ma'am, how do you know if that's something that he always does if you're not a fan of his?
I watched a Diddy documentary last night, and I don't know if anyone else felt like this, but you didn't feel like there was something up with the jurors? You're gonna tell me you didn't feel like something was up with the jurors, especially the woman. She felt smug. No? Or like smitten? Something was off to me. While I was watching that, I was like, I don't like this. Like, even when she was asked, like, oh, do you think he's a bad guy? She was like, I think he could do bad things. Like, the other guy's talking about clapping. Takes 2 hands to clap. Thank you. Thank you. New information I hadn't heard before. Did no one feel like those jurors were off? Because although a lot of the stuff I feel like was public information, like a lot of stuff we knew, especially if you're a kid of the 90s, you heard a lot of this. But when they got to the episode with the jurors, I'm like, nah, something seems off. And she's like agreeing with the fact that he was looking over, and they're like, oh, we were agreeing on stuff. Like he was making the same faces we were. What? Then she said that his assistant was up there and very emotional. Mind you, his assistant, like, it is a core principle in Law and Order SVU. Do you not know who Olivia Benson is? I learned at like the ripe age of 12 that when victims have to testify, it can re-traumatize them all over again, and it can become emotional again. That's common knowledge. Most people have emotion about being kidnapped. Oh, well, we didn't know if it was emotion or fact. She was retelling a story about how he got in a car with a gun and kidnapped her to go kill Kid Cudi. I can't be the only one that felt like the jurors were entirely off. Something was so off about them. I don't know. I hated that.
When Diddy was acquitted of multiple charges and sentenced to only 50 months in prison, a lot of people were asking the same question. Was the jury stupid? And after watching this Netflix documentary, Shawn Combs, The Reckoning, produced by Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, I can confirm that yes, they were.
We need to have a conversation about the jurors on the Diddy trial. I just finished a documentary. I watched the 4 episodes. And they present the 2 of the jurors decided to come on to Netflix and share their story about being jurors in the case. The stupidity was coming out of their pores, and just the female juror, she was a fan. She should not have been in that jury. She was talking about how Diddy at one point was nodding in the courtroom, and like she was saying how, I remember seeing that on Making the Band. That wasn't a nod to the jury. He just does that. He just does that. He used to just do it on the show. I remember on the show. And then she talked about how Capricorn, his assistant, who got kidnapped by him I can't even say certain words, who got taken by him against her will with a weapon when they were going to go see Kid Cudi. And she's saying the story in the trial. She's very emotional. And that same juror, that girl was like basically insinuating that it wasn't believable. That it wasn't believable because she was very emotional. And that it raised red flags because she was very emotional. Because it was 10 years ago, she was very emotional. Huh? And then don't even get me started on the male juror that was on the Netflix, on the episode. He was over here talking about, oh, if she was getting hit, if she was getting beat, why didn't she just walk away? Why did she just keep coming? Do you know how domestic violence works? We need to have more qualified people on juries. People with critical thinking skills. What? Like his misogyny, his sexism was spewing, I'm sorry. The jurors at the end, it was everything I needed to see. It was the explanation for everybody as to how Diddy got the time that he did and was basically relieved of the more serious charges.
When Capricorn Clark told her story, shaking, crying, reliving trauma, the courtroom didn't hear truth. The jurors didn't see survival. They saw confusion. They saw drama. They saw something inconvenient. And instead of believing the pain, they punished her for it.
Capricorn told that story. She doesn't need proof. She does not need proof. You can tell in how she was telling her story, her body language. She was telling her truth. The fact that this girl was like, we all felt the question mark. She was so fanned out because Diddy kept on like, she was like, I saw him in the corner of my eye. The jury was victims and they don't even realize. They don't even realize how easily they are narcissists' prey. Shout out to Capricorn. I am so sorry that this happened to you and I'm so annoyed and we are all annoyed for you.
Another thing about the Diddy case, why do y'all think the jurors didn't believe Capricorn Clark, I think that's her name, on her testimony? Because I believed her. I don't know. I believed her. I 100% believed that he had kidnapped her. Of course, like, it wasn't like really against her will. You get what I'm saying? Like, but the first time with the security guard and he said he was going to dump her body in the river, that, I believe that. But my thing is, how did they believe everything else but did not believe her story? And it's so crazy too because I think Armand Wiggins, when he was reviewing the case and everything, he had said, and he's probably good at reading people, but he had said that he didn't think that the jurors believed Capricorn Clark's story, and he was right. So you gotta give that to him.
The very next day, the following day, if you see how they're getting back together and exchanging text messages and like nothing ever happened. So now we are confused. What's going on here? He's meeting next minute they're going on dinners and trips. It's like going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
Allegations of I was forced, I had to say, are nonsense. She could have done whatever she wanted to do.
That's my answer. I mean, if you don't like something, you completely get out. You cannot have both ways. Have the luxury and then complain about it. I don't think so.
People really need to get better critical thinking skills. And I also think that people need to get trained in how to spot abuse. But when I was watching that Diddy documentary, the jurors, I got a problem with you two jurors. Because I get it. You're there to do a job. You're there to look at a crime. You're there to look at one specific incident. But I just don't love victim blaming. I just don't love how somebody with so much money can be believed over somebody's assistant. Somebody's assistant who saw them every day, worked with them for years, has knowledge that they're not even going to share when they're in court, but they know this person up and down. But because a woman got emotional on the stand because she was reliving a horrific event that she had with her boss, the jurors, both of them, calling them out, really hope that they find this video and know how much they looked stupid. Just like, yeah, like, you know, she just got too emotional, so her credibility just went down. I'm sorry. I don't know if people need to be more trauma trained or what, but I don't think crying and being emotional about reliving a traumatic event should discredit you. Granted, I don't know the transcripts. I don't know what homegirl said. But when you watch her interviews about what happened to her, and then the fact that those two jurors were like, yeah, I couldn't believe it. I just wish that these jurors were trauma informed to understand that this woman was not making this shit up. Like, just because it was hard for you to believe doesn't mean that it didn't actually happen.
2 of the jurors from the Shawn Diddy Combs federal sex trafficking case have broken their silence and spoken out in the Netflix docuseries. When you hear what they say, you'll understand what they were thinking and how this acquittal came to be. Kind of exactly what I was telling you. Juror 75, quote, she wanted to be with him. This guy was actually on the jury. The other person, I think, was the alternate. He went further saying, look at the evidence. It doesn't make any sense. This was his quote, it takes 2 hands to clap. You cannot clap with 1 hand. And when 2 hands clap, they both end up like this together. And then he's talking about, this evidence makes no sense. She's testifying about violent beatings and she's texting him the next day. She's testifying about all this violence and then she's going on trips and planning vacations with him. You can't have it both ways. You have to take some accountability for your actions when you're a full-blown adult and not somebody sex trafficked from Eastern Europe who doesn't speak the language and has no money. These jurors trying to reconcile these stories with the charges of sending a man away for life is what led to the acquittal. Juror 160, I believe this was the alternate, brought up the biggest part, which I said and shouted from the rooftops, which is, this juror said, look, that video, we all saw that video, is horrifying, but, quote, domestic violence wasn't one of the charges. These are the words from the jurors.
And then the other thing that stood out from this documentary was Capricorn Clark. I'm sorry, but something about her just is not believable to me. I'm not going to lie to you. The jury did an appalling job. They did an appalling job. But her, I can understand why they didn't believe her. There's just something about her story. He kidnapped me, we drove 15 minutes up the road. What is it? Did he kidnap you or did you drive 15 minutes up the road to go with him because you were an enabler? I don't believe her story, I'm sorry, I don't. So many people are like, oh, he hates Diddy, you can't believe him, you can't trust him. No, I think that he's done an incredible job at piecing together this documentary. Like, this documentary shows you the success and the levels, and like, to go into so much detail. Like, it wasn't just the I Hate Diddy documentary. No, it was showing you the whole trajectory, the entire story, piecing everything together in the most clearest way. 50 Cent done an incredible job with this documentary. Like, hats off.
I'm not a lawyer, but the note about juror number 25 could possibly mean, not for sure, but could possibly indicate that he already has his mind made up and doesn't want to engage in deliberations or debating about what his opinion is and what everybody else's opinion is. It could mean that he doesn't want to deliberate. That would be why he's not, quote, following the judge's instructions. So that's what it could indicate. If that were to be the case, that could result in a hung jury. Hung jury means that the jurors deliberating can't come to a unanimous decision. It means they all can't decide if Diddy is guilty or not guilty. If that were to be the case, okay, don't misconstrue my words. If the jurors are not able to come to an agreement on if Diddy is guilty or not, it would be called a hung jury, and hung juries result in mistrials. It means that this trial is incomplete because we didn't get a verdict, and then the prosecutors get to decide if they want to do it again or not. That could happen. That could be what this leads to. It also could not. It's the very first day and first couple hours of deliberations. You can expect deliberations to last longer than a day. And so we're still very, very early, but I got a lot of questions in the comments, so I wanted to make this video, even though I'm not a lawyer. So please don't go stoning me and telling me all the things I said wrong. This is all potential, could be the case, could also not be the case. Okay.
PopPulse family, this case revealed more than courtroom strategy. It exposed bias, ignorance, fan culture, power imbalances, and a justice system that failed the people it was supposed to protect. Hit like, subscribe, share, and stay tuned as we continue uncovering the stories the courtroom couldn't contain. Pop Post Reacts, we out.